Well, I just want to say Shabbat Shalom to everybody today. This is Barbara, and I'm serving as your host today. And it is 12 points that prove Saturday is not the Sabbath. So, okay, we're going to go ahead to the next slide. So, lunar-solar Sabbath or Saturday Sabbath. Which day is the true Sabbath? If Saturday is the Sabbath, or if Saturday is every seventh day in an unbroken cycle, then the evidence below should not be available, much less undeniably and provably true. So we're going to go through 12 points that prove the Saturday issue to be false. And Brother Martin, would you read the first page, and then Brother Havaya could read the second page. There's 12 altogether, so go ahead, Brother Martin.
Okie dokie. Delighted. Number one, the Battle of Jericho was a 7-day event. 2, scholars have generally agreed that the only dates that the crucifixion could have taken place was AD 30, AD 31, or AD 33. Number 3, Saturday is a day of the Pagan/Papal calendar, not the Hebrew calendar. 4, Exodus 12, 16, and 19 reveal that the Sabbath fell on the 15th of the month for 3 consecutive months. Number 5, the new moon is still, and the Sabbath originally as dependent upon the lunar cycle, Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, page 410. No quote can be clearer said than that. Number 6, in order to have a lunar Sabbath, you must have a lunar week.
Number 7, yes. And number 7, new moon interrupts the week. From creation, the new moon days are not included in the work week. Number 8, Abib 10 is the day to purchase a lamp if you don't already own one. Abib 10 floats on the Roman calendar. Number 9, there is a 2-day new moon in the Old Testament. Number 10, every weekly Sabbath that can be date identified in Scripture falls on either the 8th, the 15th, 22nd, or 29th day of the lunar month. Number 11, when in idolatry Israel worshipped on Saturday, but you have borne the tabernacle of your Moloch, the king, and tune your images, the stars of your God which you made for yourselves. This is found in Amos 5:26. Tune is the Hebrew word Saturn. Number 12, Genesis 1:14 says that the 2 great lights would be for signs, seasons, days, and years. Thus the calendar of Yah is in the heavens.
Okay, so number 1 proof is the Battle of Jericho was a 7-day event. Go ahead, Brother Martin.
The Battle of Jericho. Every able-bodied Israelite male took with him every weapon at his disposal. The priests carried with them the sacred Ark of the Covenant. In this siege, Israel is on the offensive. The aggressors. Read the account in Joshua 6. Only Joshua knew it would be a 7-day affair. The men were told they would attack when Joshua gave the signal. These soldiers were marching around Jericho for 7 days in attack mode, on a full tilt adrenaline rush, not knowing for sure when the signal would come. Which day was the Sabbath? Did Yahweh ever send Israel into battle on the Sabbath?
Okay, that's a good question. Well, if the Sabbath is every seventh day in an unbroken cycle, then one of those days Israel marched around Jericho had to have been a weekly Sabbath. If there's an unbroken cycle of weeks, which is what we were taught in church. Go ahead.
Does that mean?
Yes.
And it was in the second month, on the first day of the month, that Yahweh said to Joshua, "Rise up, behold, I have given Jericho into thy hand, with all the people thereof. And all your fighting men shall go round the city once each day. Thus shall ye do for 6 days. And on the seventh day they went around the city 7 times, and the priest blew upon trumpets." This is the book of Joshua, 88:14 and 17.
Okay, so it was the first day of the month that was a new moon day. Okay. So here is the little scale here showing on day 1, new moon day, they marched once. The second day of the week, they marched. The third day, the fourth day, the fifth day, 6th day, 7 times. But that was the 7th day of marching because we started on new moon day. So they didn't have to march on Sabbath. So that is the point here in Jericho, the whole story. We didn't know when we grew up. We often ask, how could they march on the Sabbath? But if you count that they started on the second month on New Moon Day, that leaves the Sabbath still as not being a day of war. Okay, the second point. Scholars have generally agreed that the only dates that the crucifixion could have taken place was AD 30, 31, or 33. We have history. We have the reasons for these years is that there are other historical events that took place at known dates that must be taken into consideration and placed on the timeline of the events in the New Testament. And then we have the moon phases, because Passover was a lunar event. It was the 14th day of the first month. And the moon phases are not a secret, and the lunar cycle can be determined either the past or future with a great deal of accuracy. So any moon phase calculator will tell you that. Go ahead, Brother Martin.
Okay. That Passover would have been on the pagan Wednesday or Day in 27 AD. It would have been on the pagan Monday in 28 AD. On the pagan Sunday in 29 AD. On the pagan Thursday in 30 AD. On the pagan Tuesday in 31 AD, on the pagan Sunday in 32 AD, and on the pagan Thursday in 33 AD.
Okay. Well, the whole point is to show there's no Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday date for Passover. So, okay, go ahead, Brother Haba.
What this proves is that there were no Friday, Saturday, Sunday weekend Passovers on any of the dates between 27 and 33 AD, covering all the suspected years of the crucifixion. The day after Passover in the year of the crucifixion was most certainly the weekly Sabbath. See in Mark 15, verse 42, Luke 23, from 54 to 56, John 19, verse 31, which means that if Saturday is the Sabbath, Friday would have been Passover. This proves that the pagan planetary week was not employed by Israel in the first century and that the Saturday is not the Sabbath of Israel. They observed the lunar-solar calendar established at creation, a fact corroborated by historian historians and proved in Scripture.
So, Saturday is a day of the pagan papal calendar, not on the Hebrew calendar. I can't see. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. If Saturday is the weekly Sabbath, then how come there was no Saturday on the Roman calendar in the first century? In the first century, Rome had an 8-day market calendar week, not a 7-day week. Saturday did not appear on the official Roman calendar until 321 AD, so Saturday was far from well established as a day of the, as a day on the Roman, much less Hebrew, calendar in the New Testament times.
Okay, so here's a copy of an actual first century Roman calendar, and the 8-day week was as follows with letters A through H. And go ahead, Hava.
In the first century, Rome observed an 8-day calendar week. Please note that in the first century, the pagan months of January and April had 29 days instead of 31 and 30 days that they consist of now. The 6th and 8th months, what we know as June and August, as well as September, November, and December, also have 29 days rather than 31, 30, 31, 30, 30, and 31 days as they have now.
Okay, so here's the planetary week. We know Saturn's day was day 1 at one time, and Sunday was day 2. So to assume that Israel observed the pagan 7-day planetary week in the first century when Rome themselves did not is sheer lunacy. I can't even say it. Anyways, lunacy. Rome did not officially adopt the 7-day planetary week until 321. Okay, so there was no Saturn's day or anything like that during the Crucifixion or the Passover. So AD 321, when Emperor Constantine became a Christian, and until that time, Saturn's day was the first day of the pagan 7-day planetary week, not the 7th day. So here's a sketch, and many of you have been on the call and studied with us. You've seen a lot of these diagrams before, but I hope this will be a good tool to give out to people that are learning about the Trader's Calendar. This sketch came from clay calendar tablet pictured to the left, and Rome ruled the world in the 1st century BC, thus the Roman numerals. But this is not a Roman calendar. This is the pagan 7-day planetary week as it existed from 800 to 600 BC until AD 321, when Constantine venerated the day of the sun. So Constantine worshipped Mithra, the Persian version of the sun god, and he did not want the day of the sun taking the back seat to Saturn. So when he venerated the day of the sun, all he did was bump Saturday from the coveted #1 position in the week all the way to the 7th day, which was vacated by all the other days moving up 1 position in the weekly cycle. And this was permitting the sun's day to hold the preeminent first day position. So it's well documented. Go ahead, brother.
Me?
Yes, go ahead, Martin.
Saturday was not the 7th day of the week anywhere on the earth until AD 321. And then, by virtue of Constantine, not the Creator Almighty, so it certainly was not the Sabbath of Israel at any time in earth's history. Yet this is a day Saturday Sabbath keepers defend as the weekly Sabbath. So Israel had been using the 7-day planetary week in the 1st century. Where is the evidence to support that theory? Rome certainly wasn't using a planetary week in the first century. In the first century, the Julian calendar consisted of a repeating 8-day market week. That was later set aside for a 7-day week in AD 321 when Constantine adopted the pagan planetary week.
So all of in Exodus 12, 16, and 19 reveal that the Sabbath fell on the 15th of the month for 3 consecutive months. This is point number 4 to prove that Saturday is not the Sabbath. So there were 3 months in a row. And this is not possible if Saturday, the 7th day in an unbroken cycle, is the Sabbath. Okay, Exodus 12 reveals that Israel was released from bondage on Abib 15, the 15th day of the first month. It is not called a Sabbath in Exodus 12, but later Scripture does reveal the nature of this day. Leviticus 23, 4 through 8 shows us that Passover, Abib 14, is preparation day for Abib 15, the Sabbath of unleavened bread. And here's a creation calendar picture up here showing preparation day, Passover is 14, and Sabbath is 15. So this is the first month improving. There's 3 months in a row. This one is about Passover. This is the text here. I'll read it in a minute. But go ahead, Brother Habaya.
Okay. Numbers 33, verse 3. They departed from Ramses in the first month, on the 15th day of the first month. On the day after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with boldness in the sight of all the Egyptians. The Sabbath commandment in Exodus 20 is linked to Creation Week. The fourth commandment listed in Deuteronomy 5 is linked to the deliverance of Israel. That date was the 15th of Abib. Abib 15th, and it is not only an annual Sabbath, but a weekly Sabbath as well. The 15th is without question a Sabbath, meaning that the 22nd of the first month is also a Sabbath.
Okay, so here's the text, Deuteronomy 5:15, that links Passover with the Sabbath. And this is good to remember because he said, remember you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and Jehovah your Elohim brought you out from there by a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, Jehovah your Elohim commanded you to keep the Sabbath. So this is the first month that is going to have Sabbath 3 months in a row, and the Sabbath will always be on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. And that's not possible on a Gregorian calendar. Here is the manna. I have something on my screen, so I can't read it. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. Exodus 16 is the first place where the word Sabbath is used in Scripture, in the first verse. Yahweh is speaking to Moses and Aaron on the 15th day of the second month and gives them what turns out to be a simple math equation. From day 15, add 6 days of manna equals 21. Next day is the 22nd, is the Sabbath.
Okay, so now this is the second month is about manna, and it proves the Sabbath is on the 15th again. And here is the chart, and it shows, I have something over my screen, I can't see it. Okay, it shows manna 1 time a day. For 6 days, the first 5 days or the 6 days, you get twice as much, and then nothing in the Sabbath. So with the manna began on the 16th, and so it proves the 22nd is the Sabbath. But okay, I'll let you read it, brother. You're next. You guys kind of keep track of who's next because I'm losing track of it.
Israel was to collect one portion of manna from the 16th to the 20th and a double portion on the 21st because the morrow was the Sabbath. If the 22nd is a Sabbath, so is the 15th, as well as the 8th and the 29th. The first day of the month is New Moon Day, not a Sabbath.
Okay, go ahead, Brother Martin.
Okay, Exodus 19:1 also proves that the children of Israel arrived at Sinai on the 16th day of the third month. Moses indicates that the children of Israel rested at Rephidim, the 15th of the third month. The root word for Rephidim or Rephidim means rest. And this passage says that they arrived in the wilderness of Sinai the same day of this month that they left Egypt, 2 months earlier.
Okay, so that's the third month. So the first month was showing Passover, and the Sabbath after that is the 15th. The second month showed manna, with the Sabbath after the manna being the 22nd. And then this is showing where they rested. This third month, they rested on the 15th. So I guess Exodus 12, 16, and 19 reveal the Sabbath fell on the 15th for 3 consecutive months. And this is not possible if Saturday, the 7th day in an unbroken cycle, is the Sabbath. So you can look here on February of 2020. You'll see that Saturdays do have 8, 15, 22, 29. This is a leap year we're in. But to find 3 months in a row where Sabbaths are on the 8, 15, 22 is not possible on a Gregorian calendar. So the scripture is showing that the Father's calendar stays the same. The Sabbaths don't change. Their number doesn't change. And here's another year here where it doesn't show any of them on a, well, yeah, here it does, September. There's 1 month, but there's not 3 months in a row. It's not possible. So, continuing along, and we're going to go through 6 points today, and we'll continue the rest. And this whole article is on the website. You can look at it, and also I'll leave the links below. So, it's really a lengthy, in-depth article. It's written by Troy Miller, and it's very well done. So, number 5, the new moon is still, and the Sabbath originally was. That's supposed to be a W there, Brother Martin, and I missed it in the first when you read it. So the new moon is still, and the Sabbath originally was dependent upon the lunar cycle. And that's from the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, page 410. So no quote can be clearer than this.
Each lunar month was divided into 4 parts corresponding to the 4 phases of the moon. The first week of each month began with the new moon, so that as the lunar month was 1 or 2 days more than 4 periods of 7 days, these additional days were not reckoned at all. This is from the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, Volume 10, page 482, article called Week. The Sabbath, depending in Israel's nomadic period upon the observation of the phases of the moon, could not, according to this view, be a fixed day. And this is from a Jewish encyclopedia website, jewishencyclopedia.com. The Hebrew Sabbathon was celebrated at intervals of 7 days, corresponding with changes in the moon's phases. This information is also found in the Encyclopedia Biblica, page 1899. Published in 1899, page 4180. The Hebrew month is a lunar month, and the quarter of this period, 1/3 phase of the moon appears to have determined the week of the 7 days. Encyclopedia Biblica, page 4780.
Okay, and all these text quotes will be on this article that you can look up on the website. So why haven't we been taught any of this? It's all in the history from the Jewish people. They have it all recorded that the Sabbath was originally dependent upon the lunar cycle.
In the article, I can't even pronounce that, Shalwai calendar.
That's fine.
Okay. Shalwui, or observance, we find confirmation of a radical change in Yahweh's calendar. The lunar calendar was used by all the original disciples of Yeshua. This original Nazarene lunar-solar calendar was supplemented by a Roman planetary week and a calendar in 135 CE, when the bishops of the circumcision, i.e. legitimate Nazarene successors to Yeshua or Yahuwah, were displaced from Jerusalem. This began a 300-year controversy concerning the true calendar and the correct Sabbath. This intimate connection between the week and the month was soon dissolved. It is certain that the week soon followed a development of its own, and it became the custom without paying any regard to the days of the month, i.e. the lunar month. So the new moon no longer coincided with the first day of the month. Encyclopedia Biblica, 1899, edit page 5290.
Okay, there's a lot more of the historical evidence. I didn't put it all in here, just a few quotes, so you can look at the complete article. Yeah, there's so much there. So the historical evidence of the Sabbath change, here's more coming. So, Brother Habaya?
The custom of celebrating the Sabbath every 7th day, irrespective of the relationship of the day to the moon's phases, led to a complete separation from the ancient view of the Sabbath. Encyclopedia Biblica, edition 1899, page 4179. With the development of the importance of the Sabbath as a day of consecration and the emphasis laid upon the significant number 7, the week became more and more divorced from its lunar connection. This is from the Universal Jewish Encyclopedia, Volume 10, edition 1943, article week, page 482.
The calendar was originally fixed by observation and ultimately by calculation up to the fall of the temple AD 70. Witnesses who saw the new moon came forward and were strictly examined, and if their evidence was accepted, the month was fixed by the priest. Eventually, the authority passed to the Sanhedrin and ultimately to the patriarchs. Gradually, observation gave place to calculation. The right to determine the calendar was reserved to the what's that word anyway? Patriarch? I don't know.
The patriarchs, I guess.
Yeah.
The leaders of the Jewish people in Mesopotamia.
Right. Babylonian Jews tried in vain to establish their own calendar, but the progressive or prerogative in the Palestine was zealously defended, so long as the Palestine remained a religious center. It was naturally to the homeland. It was naturally to the homeland that diaspora looked for its calendar. Unfortunately, uniformly was essential for its different parts and celebrated feasts on different days. Confusion would have ensued. It was not until the 4th century A.D. that Babylonian fixed the calendar. Don't let Martin put confusion in here.
Okay. So it wasn't until the 4th century that all this calendar was fixed, for sure, but it started way back in the 1st century. So how is it that scholars cannot tell when the Sabbath was disassociated from the lunar cycle, while modern Saturday Sabbath keepers in general deny that the Sabbath was ever connected with the moon in the first place? So the scholars are like, when did it happen? We know it happened. We have proof that it used to be the other way according to the phases of the moon. But it's all documented, but Saturday keepers can't see where it ever happened.
These imported from Babylon superstitions eventually led Jewish rabbis to call Saturn Shabbati the star of the Sabbath. And it was not until the 1st century of our era, when the planetary week had become an established institution, that the Jewish Sabbath seems always to have corresponded to Satyrday. Hutton Webster, in his book Rest Days, page 244.
Okay, so thus the condemnation in Amos 5:6 was set in stone. Yeah, go ahead, Brother Martin.
In Amos 5:26, the prophet is recorded as reminding Israel of their apostasy. Israel started worshiping Chiaun, a star god of their own making. In Acts 7:43, Stephen quotes Amos and is translated into Greek as saying, Rephaim, the star of God, the star god. Churan, the Rephaim, are the respective Hebrew and Greek words for Saturn. The Sabbath of Scripture is based upon the lunar cycle, so Israel did indeed come to worship Saturn on his day, but at a much later date and not by divine command.
So there's the old archaeology picture here with the star, and there's a lot of evidence of stars in ancient Babylon and all the ancient records. So when Israel was in idolatry, they went ahead and worshipped the star, and it's Saturn. That's where we get the name Satyrday from, actually. So this is the last part of the points that we're going to cover today. This is number 6. In order to have a lunar Sabbath, you must have a lunar week. Go ahead, Brother Havaya.
Philo, the 1st century historian, lived from 20 BC to 50 AD. So he was alive before and during and after the events of the New Testament. Did Philo link the Sabbath or the week with the phases of the moon? The answer is yes. In fact, the lunar week and the lunar Sabbath are the only week or Sabbath mentioned in Philo's writings. Notice that the number 7, the week, the Sabbath, and the moon are all linked together in Philo's writings. In allegorical interpretation 1:4, it says, again, the periodical changes of the new moon take place according to the number 7, that star having the greatest sympathy with the things on earth. And the changes which the moon works in the air, it perfects chiefly in accordance with its own configurations on each 7th day. At all events, all mortal things, as I have said before, drawing their more divine nature from the heaven, are moved in a manner which tends to their preservation in accordance with the number 7. Accordingly, on the 7th day, Elohim calls to rest from all his works which he had made.
Okay, so
Philo gives a second witness in on mating with preliminary studies. For it is said in the Scriptures, on the 10th day of this month, let each of them take a sheep according to his house, in order that from the 10th there may be consecrated to the 10th, that is, to Elohim, the sacrifices which have been preserved in the soul, which is illuminated in 2 portions out of the 3, until it is entirely changed in every part, and becomes a heavenly brilliancy like a full moon at the height of its increase at the end of the 2nd week.
okay, so it's talking about the full moon there, the height of its increase at the end of the 2nd week. And this language is very hard to read. Thank you, Brother Martin and Javier, because, of course, Philo wrote this in the 1st century, and he was alive during the time of Yeshua. So some of this is complicated English. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was never good in English anyway. Please let what Philo just said sink in. His readers in those days understood that the weeks were by the moon, some as in Scripture and same as in Scripture, and that at the end of the 2nd week there would be a full moon, not at the beginning of the month. This statement needs no interpretation and is impossible to misunderstand. Do full moons always rise on a Friday night, announcing Saturday as the Sabbath? No. The weeks and the Sabbath are lunar in Philo's writings. He does not link the pagan Saturday to the Hebrew Sabbath.
Okay, so that was the first 6 points, and we'll do the other 7 points in 2 days, which will be Monday, February 24. We're in 2020 here, for those of you listening to the recording at a later date. So there's a lot here, and you can go to the website. I posted the article up there already, 12 points that prove Saturday is not the Sabbath, because there's 6 more. So it's kind of lengthy, so I didn't want to do it all in one day. And here are the links, and I'll post them down below also on this YouTube recording. So I just want to say Shabbat Shalom. But everybody that's here, please stay by. I hope you were taking notes for comments and things. And I'm just going to close the recording. And so thank you, Martin and Brother Javier, for reading very much. Let's see if I can get this started, where it says